The Goat House is back. The NFL regular season is done. Most of the draft order is set. The Tennessee Titans are now on the clock. Let's go ahead and update our NFL mock draft. Feeling really good about it. Let's break it down. With the first overall pick, I currently have the Tennessee Titans selecting Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter. A lot of people expecting quarterback here. Could happen. Titans could be desperate, but I have this pick for several reasons. How could you sit at one and completely reach on a quarterback when there are other elite prospects, star prospects available? And then you specifically look at the Tennessee Titans. They have big needs at edge. There's a star prospect available. You have a need at receiver. I know Callahan's going to value that pretty high. There's a star player there. Offensive line, some good players. Another thing, the Tennessee Titans could be looking to add a veteran quarterback, whether it's free agency or trade. The pass rush group in free agency is a lot of longtime veterans, so you don't really have an opportunity to get that there. They're bottom 3 in sacks this year. Harold Landry needs some help. Is he going to be around for them forever? Maybe for a couple more years, but Abdul Carter is a big-time prospect, a candidate for that number 1 player in the draft. Penn State keeps pumping out pass rushers. This is a legit one right here. Look at what Chop Robinson's doing right now. Abdul Carter, much more polished than him. He is a game wrecker. He has polished moves. He has that get off. He's super explosive. He can drop in coverage. He can sit and read. He makes plays in the run game. Titans need that pass rusher. They need a quarterback too. You have a much, much better and sure thing prospect here with Abdul Carter. So that is what I'm going with right now. Really considered Travis Hunter, but you can see multiple different scenarios. Offensive line, McMillan, quarterback. I'm going to go with Carter. Second overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado. A good example on why this is a predict-a-pick. It's not what I would do. I would not take a quarterback here with the other elite talent, and I think it's a little early for Sanders. Why? Couple reasons. Big one, he holds the ball way too damn long, takes too many damn sacks, and that is something that you don't typically see change a whole lot. Of course, you can improve it, you can coach some of it, but that's a little bit of an issue. He does have the prototypical size, he has the arm talent, and he makes some flashy plays. Sometimes it's great when he's hanging on the ball and escaping pressure, throwing it. It almost seems like every drop back he's trying to do that, though. Some similar issues for Caleb Williams right now. Caleb Williams is the far better prospect compared to Sanders at the same time. So that's a tough part. Could go Cam Ward. I think teams will be a little higher on Sanders just because he's more of the prototypical size, even though Ward has size, and Sanders has a lot more upside. Ward's been around for a little bit, but in this case, the Browns, would they want more of a polished quarterback? Sure, they're a little thin on cap space, so that's kind of an issue as well. In this scenario, Sanders second overall. And there goes Cam Ward third overall. Of course, you can flip Sanders and Ward. That's a possibility as well. Quarterback could go first. I don't think so in this scenario, but the Giants take Cam Ward. Definitely need that quarterback of the future. I like him. I think I like his big playability, his ability to escape pressure, throw on the run, things like that. They were in love with a guy like Jaden Daniels last offseason. They couldn't get their hands on him. As well as Drake May, they liked. Ward's not as good of a prospect. There's definitely some differences, but there are some similarities in, the ability to be smart, use your legs when you absolutely have to, be able to whip it downfield in tough situations here. But I think teams will be pretty mixed on where they have Ward on their board, but in this case, the Giants take their quarterback of the future. Fourth overall, the Patriots select Travis Hunter, the Colorado receiver in corner. I think more likely to get more reps at receiver at this point. He's showing great strides. He gets consistent separation. His hands, contested catchability, spectacular catchability. Off the charts right now. So a good separator, a big-time playmaker for Drake May here. He could go first overall. The Titans, so him at 4 is fantastic. I really considered offensive line here because that is very important to protect Drake May. I'm just going to get ahead of myself and say maybe a guy like Mike Vrabel's there. He will really value the offense line as well. You just have a much better prospect. Guys like Kelvin Banks, really good, getting banged up a little bit here and there within games. Some people think it's a guard. I think it's a tackle. Will Campbell, most people think it's a guard. So what's the board look like here? Hunter has to be a bit ahead of those guys, even though they're really good prospects. This one might surprise some people. Fifth overall, the Jags take tight end Tyler Warren from Penn State. Bottom line is, this is an elite prospect. This guy is a mismatch problem, just a ball player. He goes out and makes big-time plays. Yes, the Jags have Evan Ingram. It's a different style tight end for sure. Tyler Warren can play in line. People are not talking about his blocking ability enough, but he's an absolute weapon you can scheme things up for. Ingram's more like a move tight end. He's almost like another receiver. Brian Thomas Jr., Tyler Warren, Evan Ingram. They have other options as well. We'll see what happens with Christian Kirk. But that's a good group of guys. I mean, this is easy help for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, just simplifies things for him. Big fan of Warren. He should go this high. If you're able to find an elite tight end, a mismatch problem, that can help you for years to come, it is huge. It is absolutely huge. They're just rare to find. You have one here. You take the opportunity. 6th overall, the Raiders select Michigan star corner Will Johnson. Very well could be looking for a quarterback. The other 2 off the board. There is another quarterback I have in this mock that I really like. I just don't think it happens at 6. Raiders take a star corner prospect, and Will Johnson sat out of some games this year because of injury. I think he's more just playing it safe. It's a big time, good size, good athleticism, can play press man, can play zone, instinctive corner. Earlier this year, we saw him take a pick 6 back off a screen pass, stuff like that, and more really stands out. You have to know the damn play and be able to break on the ball. Just an all-around talented corner here for the Raiders at 6. Back-to-back Michigan players. 7th overall, the Jets select defensive tackle Mason Graham. Maybe not the biggest need for them. They could look offensive line. They could, look here and there, different spots, but Mason Graham should honestly go earlier in this. He's that much of a legit prospect. This draft is very top heavy in non-quarterbacks. Obviously, this is a big time game wrecker. Just blows up offensive lines, blows up plays. Pair him with Quinnen Williams. The Jets could win games off that alone. Just that defensive line, that interior defensive line, stopping the run and getting after the quarterback through the interior. Just too good to pass on here at 7. Panthers at 8, a little tricky because there's some good pass rushers available, and the Panthers need, it feels like, defense more than offense right now. But Tetairoa McMillan is a big-time star prospect here, available at 8. Gonna give Canales Mike Evans vibes. They're playing well on offense right now, especially Bryce Young. Some of the receivers are stepping up, but you go get a big-time receiver for the future right here. Thielen's not going to be around forever. Coker looks pretty solid. Leggett's still to be determined, but I like this fit for Canales and Bryce Young in the Panthers offense. Saints at 9 take LSU tackle Will Campbell, projected to play some guard. I think it's going to depend on which team takes him. Calvin Banks, probably a better overall prospect, probably more likely a tackle, but the Saints could be, more in line for a guard, but that he also can play tackle in case Ramczyk, is still having issues in the future. Because remember, they have Fuaga as well. I think there is a bonus here. So they get a sure thing starting guard in week 1, which the Saints badly need. Could go multiple directions. Could go quarterback. Could go defensive end. I like Campbell for them in this scenario at 9. 10th pick, the Chicago Bears select Kelvin Banks Jr., the Texas offensive tackle. This is kind of a dream scenario for the Bears. He slipped through a little bit. The only thing right now, he's getting banged up, having to come out of games here down the stretch, but this is a damn good offensive tackle prospect. Some people are talking about maybe him moving to guard. I don't love that. I like him. It depends on who drafts him, but I like him at tackle. The Bears plug him, start him in right at left tackle there. Really boost this offensive line for Caleb Williams. This is a really good situation if the Bears are able to get their hands on one of the top tackles in the draft. The 49ers at 11, they will be desperate for offensive line help. There's some solid ones. They wish they can probably get their hands on one of the top 2, but Josh Simmons, the only knock on him right now is he is currently injured, and it feels like whoever comes in for Ohio State, anybody across the roster right now is playing very, very well. But Simmons, a very smooth mover. The Niners, could use him right away at right tackle. You could start him, be the future of Trent Williams at left tackle. Either way, they're just desperate for offensive line help when it comes to tackle and guard. Everything other than Pooney right now, it feels like it could be a need. They're not going to be, that high on getting a center right now necessarily or valuing it that much, but definitely need offensive line help. 12th overall, the Dallas Cowboys select Tyleik Williams from Ohio State, defensive tackle. They definitely need some more help on the interior. They struggled stopping the run this year, and they also could use a guy that can get after the quarterback from the interior. Mike Zimmer usually loves those things. He did a really good job down the stretch with the Cowboys defense. I'd imagine he's back, but we'll see what happens with that coaching staff. But I don't really like Williams. He is a big-time riser recently. A lot of Ohio State guys are because they are dominant lately. How about them? Playing much better football right now, looking like a juggernaut. Didn't look like that in the regular season, even though they were a good team. But Tyleik Williams is making himself some money, and the Cowboys, would like to add a big-time defensive tackle like Williams here at 12. 13, the Dolphins select Missouri receiver Luther Burden. Tyreek Hill saying he's out. He's done. I guess he wants a trade apparently. And even, if not, he's talked about, hinting at retiring a little earlier than everyone's expecting. So Dolphins could use a receiver either way, but talk about a perfect, best possible replacement for Tyreek Hill that is realistic. Luther Burden, you have to take that opportunity here. The Dolphins obviously love speed. You get a big-time receiver. I think he's going to be much better in the NFL than he was in college, even though he was very good in college. Disappeared at times just because of the quarterback situation, especially this year when Brady Cook played. He was injured. Drew Pine, pretty bad. So much more productive at the NFL level. If they have to replace Tyreek Hill, absolutely perfect scenario, I'd say, at 13. 14, the Colts select Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. Big-time rangy playmaker. The Colts definitely need that in the back end. I will say the Colts will be after Tyler Warren. They wanted Brock Bowers last draft. We knew that before the draft and during. It sounds like they maybe talked about moving up a little bit because they felt like he wasn't going to be there. They could go up for Tyler Warren perhaps, but big need here, and you got a freakish, high upside safety from Georgia in Starks. 15, the Falcons select Georgia Bulldog pass rusher / linebacker Jalen Walker, who actually just declared today. Big-time riser as the year has gone on. I like him off the edge. He has so much upside there. Freak athlete, really long, blowing up plays. He's good sitting and reading the run. He's really good in space, dropping in coverage. Seen him play off-ball linebacker. I think Raheem Morris would like him off the edge in that Falcons defense, who definitely needs some pass rush help for sure. 16, the Cardinals select Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon. Another big riser. Wasn't like a big name going into the year, but throughout the year, it's like, okay, this guy's a first-round pick. And Oregon got embarrassed in that playoff game against Ohio State, but believe it or not, the only thing I noticed was Derek Harmon throughout the year, but throughout that game as well. The guy's really good at shedding blocks. He's really good at blowing up plays. He stops the run at a very, very high level. It's exactly what the Cardinals need in there on the interior defensive line. 17, the Bengals go with Nick Scorton, edge rusher from Texas A&M, formerly with Purdue, was productive in both spots. Very, very physical, really lengthy, really good bull rush, just blows up plays, can stop the run as well. Trey Hendrickson's probably going to, want a new deal. Hubbard's declining. This is the type of defensive ends the Bengals look for. They did just fire their defensive coordinator earlier this morning, so we'll see if that changes anything here. But definitely could be a need, and it can help them in the pass defense and run defense here at the defensive end position with Nick Scorton. 18, the Seattle Seahawks select Bama guard Tyler Booker. I had this mocked last time. The Seahawks they badly need a guard. Could they be looking for quarterback of the future? Definitely a possibility. Could we see a trade up? And they can go multiple different routes, but it feels like, oh my God, guard is such a big need, and you have one of the better ones of the whole draft class here with Booker from Bama at 18. 19, thought about guard here for the Texans, a big need, but they definitely need a receiver as well. Ohio State, CJ Stroud connection here. Emeka Egbuka, drawing comparisons to JSN for a reason. He's a very similar player. I think similar style player. They both really dominate from the slot. JSN to me is a little bit better of a prospect. Egbuka is actually tougher. He's pretty built, especially as he's gone on through his career. Pretty tough after the catch. So it seems like a safe pick in the first round. Not the flashiest, but a safe pick. They brought in Diggs for a reason. He's a free agent. Tank Dell, injured both years. It was a gruesome one last time. So they need more help at receiver. Robert Woods is going to be done after this too. They need another receiver for CJ Stroud here. They grab Egbuka from Ohio State. 20th overall, there goes that star running back from Boise State, Ashton Jeanty. Could go earlier in this because he's a star, an elite running back prospect. I mean, the contact balance is as good as you're ever going to find. Could slip through a little bit because, he does have a lot of wear. How long will he last? It's not major concerns. There's other really good running backs in the class, and he was actually a little bit lesser in the pass catching production department this year, which is a little surprising. I have no doubts with him that he can do it, but the Broncos have a number of running backs, but nothing set at RB1. I think they're going to like the duo of Jeanty and Estime for the future. A lot of physicality there, which Sean Payton really likes to have on that offense. So just an absolute weapon to add for Bo Nix in the Broncos offense. 21, the Bucs go with a pass rusher, Michael Williams, lengthy pass rusher from Georgia. I feel like he'll be more productive at the next level. Did a good job blowing up plays. Those Georgia pass rushers are pretty good, not just getting after the quarterback, but stopping the run as well. The Bucs definitely badly need an edge rusher here. So there's some good ones, actually, that could actually slide down the draft like a Michael Williams. 22, the Steelers take a big-time riser in Matthew Golden, the receiver from Texas. Isaiah Bond's been beat up, and Golden has taken over. I mean, even when they're both on the field, Golden has taken over as their top receiver. He's really shining lately, really shining. Downfield threat, but can play underneath as well. He can win with speed, just getting separation, but he goes up and catches the ball at its highest point, wins contested catches. We're really seeing that in big-time moments. So the receiver class, you got some studs at the top. Some teams won't love some of those guys even at the top because they're kind of specific type of receivers. So it kind of opens things up for a guy like this to rise up the boards and someone take him, later in the first round here. So definitely a big-time riser to watch. You could still watch him because he's still in the playoff, and he's been that top-tier target for Texas and Quinn Ewers. 23, I have a little bit of a bold one here that I absolutely love this. Jaxson Dart, the Ole Miss quarterback, goes 23 to, yes, the L.A. Rams, and love this for multiple reasons. I like Dart a lot. He very well can go second round. I am way more of a fan of not reaching for a quarterback in the first and just taking Dart in the second. The tough part with him, he's had his off moments. I mean, the Florida game was a big one. If you watch some of those interceptions, him and the receivers were on different pages. Like, they need a touchdown at the end of the game. He's taking shots. They're sitting down. So I'm not going to put too much blame on him. He's got to play a little bit better. I think the big thing here is the Lane Kiffin system is a lot different than these NFL systems. It's really simplified for them. Guys are schemed wide open. It's just kind of the ball's out before the three-step drop. You don't really have to go through your progressions. You don't have to deal with NFL pressure and just maneuver around and make a throw. That is the tough part. So that is why Dart absolutely needs to sit. He needs to sit year one. He cannot be thrown in, but he has a ton of upside because he has that arm talent, that downfield ability. He's got pretty solid accuracy. He can break sacks. He can escape pressure. Sometimes he doesn't see it. He's really mobile as well. There are some parts of his game that kind of remind me of Matthew Stafford a little bit. He's a lot more mobile. Actually, Stafford was the much better prospect. But for him to go sit and learn behind Matthew Stafford, he's still playing at a high level, but doesn't have too much time left, and learn from him, learn from McVay, I mean, it is a perfect situation. If he sits and he's in a good it's the ultimate. It's one of those. If he goes to a bad situation and plays right away, he's going to be a bust. If he goes to a bad situation and maybe plays in the future, it's a little up in the air. I don't mind it. The chance. If he goes to a situation like this, I think he'll be the best quarterback in this class. I think no doubt, actually, he'll be the best in this scenario where these guys go and where Dart lands. He'll be the best quarterback from this class. It's just not going to be right away. So I absolutely love that. Some rumors in last year's draft about the Rams moving up for a quarterback. I think Bo Nix was mentioned. How much truth is to that? But they could be looking for that guy in the future. Little bold. I actually don't think it's that bold. But I would love this for the LA Rams. 24, the Packers take East Carolina cornerback Siobhan Revel. And I think we'd be mocking him a lot earlier. I think he'd go a lot earlier in the draft if he didn't get injured this year. Injured pretty early on, was done for the season. But, man, good length, really smooth mover, good in man, good in zone, reads the quarterback. The Packers definitely could use a corner. They're thin on corners right now, thin on really, really solid ones. They have Alexander, but he's out for the year. And then he just keeps getting injured. So they're definitely going to be looking for the corner of the future. But they can go multiple routes here. Defensive line. I would love for them to value receiver more because they got good receivers, but they got ones that are either not available, it feels like a lot, or guys that kind of good, but they disappear at times. So they really need to go out and get Jordan Love a consistent, legit receiver one. I just don't trust since they're stubborn to do it in the first round here. But it's not the end of the world. They can definitely get a good one in the second round. So they take a corner at 24. 25, the Chargers take Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. I mean, him being a Michigan guy with Harbaugh there is kind of a bonus. Harbaugh would definitely consider it. It's a big-time recruit, big-time upside. This guy's a freakish dude for his size. He can move for how big of a guy he is. The Chargers definitely need a presence on the interior to help stop the run as well. And again, his upside is through the roof. So I think Harbaugh and the Chargers would love to get this freaky defensive lineman. Really solid value pick here for the Commanders. They definitely need another edge rusher. They get James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, who before this year was looking like a top 5 pick. And he still could be. He still can go a lot earlier. He wasn't as good this year as last year, but he's super explosive. He's super athletic, agile. He actually stops the run better than people give him credit for. He is on the thinner side. And it just was much better last year, but it's a little deeper of an edge class, actually. And, look at the talent at the other positions, the reaches on quarterbacks. It ends up someone like this sliding down. So a really good scenario, a really good value pick for the Commanders at 26. 27, the Ravens select Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jaxson, who could play tackle, but you think his upside, where he really can play at the next level, is guard. I think it would be a really good guard. But, the fact that he could do both is big time for the Ravens. They'll like that. Stanley, a free agent. I'd imagine they get him back. He has durability concerns, but could end up using a tackle if they don't get him back. They more so could use a guard, but a guard that can play tackle would be absolutely huge. But Jackson's playing very well for the Ohio State Buckeyes. A lot of Ohio State Buckeyes are playing very well right now, but he's playing very well for them in the playoffs right now as they are the hottest team in college football. 28, the Vikings select Trey Amos, the Ole Miss corner, former Alabama corner. He had himself a year. The Vikings definitely need a corner on the outside for sure. I like his press ability, his physicality. I love it. He really elevated Ole Miss's defense. I mean, Ole Miss's defense went from not so great to really, really good. It's more than just Amos, but he really caught my eye this year. Really big fan. Alabama background only helps here. The Vikings definitely could use a corner. Thought about safety here because at first glance it doesn't feel like they need a safety, but Cam Bynum, they couldn't reach an agreement earlier, before the offseason on a long-term deal. They don't want to pay a lot of money there, so he could be gone. Harrison Smith, redid his deal. It's a one-year deal, so he could be retiring soon. I know they have Metellus, but definitely could use someone else. So I really thought about safety, but corner is a massive need for the Vikings. And based off that last game, it feels like they definitely need offensive line. I'd say guard or center help. Definitely the interior. I think they badly need a running back. They don't run the ball enough, probably because they don't have like an every down. Jones is good, but an every down guy. He's a little banged up here and there. Has the fumbles too. I think they should value running back, finally here once again. But I like Amos for them at 28. 29, the Bills select Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts, a certified playmaker, just a ball player. He finds the ball finds him. He just, throughout his career, continues to just have a nose for the ball, just finds the ball, gets his hands on the ball, but he does a lot more than that too. He gets downhill, he makes plays in the box, he can play man, can play zone, can play single, high, single free. He could really do it all. The Bills definitely could use an upgrade at safety. Yeah, I'd say Watts is more known as a playmaker, getting his hands on the ball, but that Georgia game, that playoff game, he put a lot of good things on tape, getting downhill and reading the run, reading where the ball is going. He did a really good job with that and tackling. Maybe he's not going to have the exact measurables everyone wants. Maybe he's not going to run the fastest for it. I think he's fast enough, but it's just a guy that can play ball. He's going to be a good ball player. I think the Bills would love to have him here at 29. I think he should go earlier in this, but probably the range where he will go. 30th, the Eagles select. It's a total Eagles pick, by the way. Walter Nolan, the Ole Miss defensive tackle. And why it's an Eagles pick is the Eagles like the big-time high school recruits, the guys that were supposed to be studs their whole life, and then they are studs in college. They have to be both, and that's Walter Nolan. Was a top recruit, second from his class, and been very, very good for Ole Miss. Really helped them this year as he joined that defense and elevated them. I know the Eagles have defensive tackles. They love the position. They value the position. They also have Milton Williams, who's going to be a free agent, of course. Maybe a slightly different style player, but adding another guy in there because Jordan Davis is really good, but he's not he's not going to be playing 90, even 80% snaps. He's kind of used for special scenarios and a little more, of course. But I think they would really like Nolan here on the defensive line. Could look for edge as well. Just better value here at 30. 31, the Chiefs take an offensive tackle from Missouri, Armand Membo, who I honestly should probably go earlier in this, not getting enough love in the draft world right now. He was fantastic for Missouri. He looks the part of a first-round pick. Issue, I guess, with this specific pick is he played right tackle. The Chiefs could be looking for a left, but could they move guys around? Could he get moved around a left tackle? I think just way more talented than some of the other guys on the board. I definitely think he belongs not only in the first round, but probably earlier pick than 31. So I could not leave him off the mock. And the Chiefs don't have a ton of needs. Offensive tackle is definitely one of them. And the Lions at 32 take Texas A&M defensive lineman Shamar Stewart. Played more defensive end, but because of his size, his physicality, he could slide in a little bit as well. And that really helps the Lions because the Lions could use that starting defensive end next year. But because of how beat up they got in the interior, of course, it's a bonus to kind of have a physical guy that could do both. And they really they really look for those physical. They got to be physical on the defensive end spot. They can't really. Some teams just they don't really care about the size. They just want full speed, athleticism, crazy movement. Lions would love that. Hutchinson's best of both worlds. He's everything. But they like the physicality at the defensive end spot. So a guy that you can move around a bit was really solid. I think he'd be more productive in the NFL after he was very solid for Texas A&M. So that is your first round mock updated after the regular season. Feel really good about this. The valuations on the player, but a lot more draft content to come. A lot more playoff content going to be rolling out. We'll rank rookies based off this year. So going to cover the whole coaching carousel situation. So a lot of content. Every single day, several new videos every week. We got you covered with every single thing NFL. So join us, subscribe, turn notifications on. You will not regret that. Very important to follow us on X/Twitter because we have constant news, constant talk, evaluations on there. So check it out. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.